Well, good morning, Tony and Fred. This is really a thrill to be talking with both of you together because I haven't seen you guys since the last reunion, even though we've talked. And I'm just so grateful that you wanted to get together and share with us your music experience collectively and individually and what that has meant for you through all these years. So I'm going to just start off with a question. How did you each first get interested in music and in singing?
You go, Tony.
Okay. Well, my mother was a voice teacher, piano teacher, and had a wonderful friendship with Fred's mother, who also was involved in a big way in the music in the suburbs of Philadelphia. And Fred and I grew up just 10 minutes from each other. We were members of different churches, but at the same time, I want to say when we were 8 years old in 1961, we started singing in a boys' choir in our respective churches. And that was our official introduction to choral singing.
Cool.
So those boy choir experiences, Nancy, are very, very rich and very educational in terms of getting you started in the world of music. And I went to this church called St. Mary's in a town called Ardmore, Pennsylvania. And Tony's, what was your name?
The Church of Good Shepherd in Rosemont.
Which is close by.
Yeah, very close by.
So, Fred, do you want to tell us about how you guys first connected, how you first met each other and started a friendship, and your first experiences singing together?
Absolutely. Tony and I went to prep school Episcopal Academy, located outside Philadelphia. And we were very fortunate to be involved in the bigger program there, the Glee Club, but then there's smaller groups called the Academy 13s, which is a smaller a cappella group,
right?
Where you develop very close bonds with your cohorts in these a cappella groups. I think Tony would agree. And I was very fortunate to be with him in that experience as well as the larger group. And this was when we were in 10th grade.
Okay.
Like I went to Episcopal at 10th. Tony was a lifer at Episcopal.
Yeah.
And I was a new kid on the block. And I might mention among his other great qualities, he's a very warm and inclusive person. So I felt immediately at home in the musical scene at Episcopal.
Very cool. Now, what about when you went to Williams? We've just talked about this a little bit before this Zoom, and
right.
I didn't know anything about this. I was all wrapped up in my own freshman year stuff. But Tony, tell us what what your launch into freshman year looked like.
No sooner had we gotten through the first week of classes at Williams, we found ourselves singing in the Williams College Choral Society. And unbeknownst to us, there had been a 10-year project that the music department under Ken Roberts had launched that came into reality the fall of our freshman year.
Wow.
And I think Fred and I were 2 of the 7 freshmen that were able to join the Williams College Choral Society. And in so doing, we took a week in the heart of the fall semester. We took a week and went to Detroit, Michigan, to sing a concert with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra that included just an incredible piece by Prokofiev called Alexander Nevsky. And it was an amazing experience. We sang 2 concerts in what then was the new Ford Auditorium in Detroit under the baton of Sixten Ehrling. And no sooner had we returned from that trip that the Detroit Symphony Orchestra then came to Williamstown and was in residence for 2 days. And we sang a concert, the same concert, in Chapin Hall for everyone in the Williamstown area. And the very following night after that concert, we all ended up singing in Carnegie Hall in New York. And then the following night became the first collegiate chorus ever to sing in the John F. Kennedy Performing Arts Center. And this all happened, I believe, in the first 2 weeks of November. So Fred and I, you might say, had a particularly busy fall because the first 5 or 6 weeks we were students at Williams. We were intensively learning this Prokofiev
Yeah.
Nevsky piece.
The Russian language. Yeah.
And tell me about
we
the
were
tutoring.
I'm sorry?
You were tutored by the
Yes.
Russian.
We were tutored. Nick Fairson was a longtime faculty member teaching Russian at Williams, and Ken Roberts brought him in on several occasions to work with us on the pronunciation of the
Nevsky.
of the Nevsky. But it was an amazing experience.
Wow. So Fred, tell me about, Tony mentioned that you guys sort of saw each other at some function and November or something, and
It's over Christmas.
Over Christmas.
Yeah.
And I think that my recollection and Tony's recollection, we said to each other, we sort of looked wide-eyed and we said, how are we ever going to top this? In our musical life, much less broader life. And it really was one for the ages, Nancy.
that's
Just
phenomenal.
amazing.
And you
And
guys
then-
both continue. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, no, and then I was going to say, but we did continue to sing together in the choral society, as well as the chapel choir that would perform at regular holiday times in the Thompson Chapel. So that was again a wonderful experience. The fact that we got to
Share that.
Yes.
together for all 4 years at Williams.
Fantastic. And then you graduated, you began the rest of your life. Tell me about, in a nutshell, because you both collectively been singing a little bit together and also individually. So why don't you tell me a little bit about how the mingling of your friendship and the music in the last 50 years? Just for a
Sure.
couple of
Just a little thing like that, right?
Well, I was just going to say, Fred spent 5 years in New York right after we graduated. I spent nearly that amount of time down in Richmond, Virginia. And then we both found ourselves back in Philadelphia. And I joined the Orpheus Club of Philadelphia, an amateur, the oldest amateur men's singing group in the country. And Fred joined the Tonics.
I joined the Tonics I was fortunate to be one of the founding members of the Tonics. That started in 1990, and Tony and I shared that experience for a few years.
In the mid-90s.
In the mid-90s.
Right. It's an a cappella singing group that was founded by a Yaley and is still going strong.
Yeah.
They're now in their
34th,
35th year. Yeah.
And prior to that, Nancy, I wanted to say, simultaneous with Tony singing in the Orpheus Club, I was involved with Mendelssohn Club of Philadelphia, which is a very old and prestigious part of the fabric of Philadelphia. I was very fortunate, and then I sang with Choral Arts Society of Philadelphia after that.
Wow.
In the latter part of the 1980s, and Tony knows those groups very well.
Right, and then I joined a church choir, the Bryn Mawr Presbyterian Church choir in 1989, and enjoyed a tremendous experience in that choir over the years.
And you said that now it's been what, 46 years with the Orpheus?
In the Orpheus Club, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now tell me a little bit about your acting too, because both of you have done, have been thespians, and I want to hear a little bit about that too.
Go ahead, Fred.
I was involved with Gilbert Sullivan I'm still a little bit involved, but much more prior years, Nancy. Gilbert Sullivan Society of Chester County, which is outside Philadelphia. And then there's an old group in Philadelphia called Savoy Company, Savoy. And I believe Tony's grandmother helped found that organization. Wow. So another connection, if you follow, it's just amazing. And so I was able to be very involved in these two organizations and to have some nice roles you know, performing the patter songs and all these other songs that people seem to get a kick out of when they
Yes.
hear GNS. And
I was going to say, in addition, Fred and I were active in a group called the Episcopal Academy Players, which was made up of alumni, parents, past parents at our alma mater.
Mhm.
And I ended up going back to work at Episcopal for 20 years and ended up in several productions, I guess back in the 90s. And then Fred was also in a couple of those in the 90s and early 2000s. Yeah.
One show,
Wow.
you know, the great show Anything Goes,
Mhm.
the big famous show, and I was involved in that. That was also an amazing production, directed by a very close, you know, dear friend of ours named Bob Cronin.
Yeah.
And there's a connection with the Cronin name, as you know.
And Bob graduated from Williams in 1969.
Yeah.
Wow.
The Williams connection as well.
Huge Williams and Episcopal connection.
Yeah.
And so Anything Goes was amazing.
Yeah, and I'm going to put a quick plug in here for anybody who's watching this, is to go to 75 Creates on our website and go to Fred Dittmann, and you've got some recordings of yours, which are wonderful.
Thank you.
There you go.
Really,
Thank you,
really
Nancy.
glad. Yeah,
I appreciate that very
those.
much.
Well,
Thank you.
we could keep going here, but I kind of want to roll it together a little bit and just sort of, I want you to each talk about for a minute, what has music meant in your life? What has it brought you? Obviously it's been a huge passion for both of you, and it's been a glue in your friendship. But if there's anything else you want to add about what it brings to you, and especially now as we're all older, because it's wonderful, because unlike some things like athletics, because some of our bodies are kind of falling apart, music can keep on going. They say that the hearing is the last thing to go. What can you say? So
Tony, you go, Tony, for a second.
I guess what I would say is that singing has meant a great deal to me over the years. My mother, having been a voice teacher, piano teacher, who died when I was 16, I ended up working at the Curtis Institute of Music, one of the finest music conservatories in the world, for 15 years. And there wasn't a day that would go by that I didn't think of my mom and just how proud she would be that I was involved there, but and surrounded by some of the most talented young musicians in the world. But singing, singing has meant the world to me. Yeah.
And I would just echo Tony's comments, Nancy, to say, well, first of all, I'll get right to the heart of it. It's cemented and bonded our friendship, even more than it would have already been the case. And that is something that I'll always treasure for as long as I'm around, because Tony and I have that connection that will never go away.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of another dimension or layer above. Also, my mother, like Tony's mother, was a big music lover. And when I was singing in the boy choir, I looked over and this is not to be saccharine or sappy, but I could tell that there was nothing that made her happier than to see her son going up the center aisle with the other boys. We had a boys choir, singing to the glory of God. And that I could just see the joy in her face. It was really amazing. Yeah. And so those are the kinds of things that you just never forget.
Yeah.
And I might just add that in addition to what we have done in terms of singing, Fred and I have made a point of getting to concerts together, whether it be at the Curtis Institute of Music or the Philadelphia Orchestra,
Academy of Vocal
Arts, where Fred has been an active volunteer for many years, for 30 years.
Yeah.
And I've been to see Fred in his Gilbert and Sullivan productions, and he's come to some of the major works that we've done at Bryn Mawr Press Choir, like the Fauré Requiem and the Brahms Requiem. And we're doing the Duraflé Requiem this fall. So it's our lives have been really rich in music. both in terms of our participating as choristers, but also attending concerts together.
So together and then supporting each other,
Yep.
Nancy,
Yep.
which I think is so important.
Well, this has been lovely, and I know people are going to appreciate it as much as I have. I have one more question. As I recall, in past reunions, it's often, I guess it's at the remembrance or the memorial services that the choirs have sung. Are you guys going to be singing at any point on our reunion weekend that you know of?
Not that I'm aware of right now, but that doesn't mean that it may not happen. I know that there was an alumni chapel choir that used to come together at our reunions early on, Nancy.
Okay.
I'm not sure the logistics will allow that to continue to happen, but I'm certainly eager and hopeful that there will be opportunities for Fred and me to sing, and with the others, many others in our class who were part of the music program at Williams.
There's some talk in the wind about your
Great.
answering your questions.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, as
Fantastic.
they say.
Fantastic. So great to talk with both of you. Look forward to seeing you in June, and all the best with your music and all the other parts of your world.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Nancy. Love doing it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.